Well, it looks like they went ahead and fixed the raids over here on the NA version, and maybe saying fixed isn't the correct thing to be saying because the problem with Ivan is that he was already logged as being beaten by like 2:40 in the afternoon. And so by the time that he went live, basically we had nothing to do because the game thought he was already done. But Surtur did not have any such problems, so that gives us a little bit of hope that maybe it was just an issue with Ivan. But I'm also noticing in this event, there are a lot of issues, not even just with the raids, but if you've been reading the event, there are weird translation errors. Like, not even like, oh, they used a word that's a little bit strange. Like, I'm looking at Tai Gong repeating lines or just speaking in very broken English, and it's very jarring to read. So I don't know what is going on over at Lasengel right now, but they clearly do not have their best and brightest running the game right before Christmas, which, maybe holidays were coming up. The A team for Lasengel was already off on vacation, so the B team was trying to prep everything, and that's why we're getting all these issues. But we at least have some copium that maybe the other raids will be a-okay, maybe they will be working just fine. But I'm not gonna lie, there's like this little whisper in the back of my head that's telling me, well, the retainers could still be bugged, the Koyanskaya fight could still be bugged, it might not just be Ivan, it might be another one as well. Maybe we got really lucky with Surtur, and we really shouldn't be having those thoughts. And I think from here on out, that's always gonna be in some players' heads, which has to be absolutely devastating for Lasengel because that blunder is probably one of the biggest blunders I've ever seen. I can't recall a time I've been playing a game and I've seen something so bad, so monumentally just rips all of the hype out of an event and just makes everybody very paranoid that the rest of the event might not even be working. And so I say all of this because where is the response from Lasengel? I know that it looks like their Twitter is pretty automated, but even the responses from the Twitter and the things that they've been sending out are very strange. Keep in mind, earlier today, or I guess earlier yesterday, they put out a tweet talking about the new Mystic Code, and that Mystic Code is not something we will have access to until basically the very end of the event. And you could even kind of view it as somewhat of a mild, very light spoiler if you didn't know about it. It's like, oh, we're going to be getting some new combat uniform or something along those lines. And so it's just really weird for them to tweet that out, and nobody is addressing this huge blunder that happened over here on the NA version of the game. And I know, again, automated tweets probably, but whoever is responsible for running the account, you can't tell me they can't just log into the Twitter and be like, hey, we noticed the problem with the Ivan raid, don't worry, we'll get back to you guys after the holidays. Just something as simple as that, just a little bit of communication in any capacity, because we know they have social media guys that are supposed to be like seeing what the community's into. I mean, clearly they know because they reference stuff like clairvoyance and stuff, which is what we talk about amongst each other when we talk about, oh, we know what's coming out on JP, like we know the next 2 years, so we know that they're rocking this how do you do fellow kids, type mentality. Like, we know what you guys are talking about, we know what's up. So for them to just kind of stick their head in the ground and not address it, the best thing that I can give them, the most charitable interpretation, is that they got the event ready on Friday, they pretty much launched everything, had all of those raids ready to go, went home for the weekend because it's Christmas weekend, right? And we're probably not going to see or hear anything from them until they actually get back following Christmas. I would maybe say the 26th at the earliest, but again, I don't know what Lasengel's, holiday hours are like. I don't know if they're going to be like, well, no, we gave you like the week off, or we gave you the next 2 days after Christmas off. I don't really know what's going on over there. I'm not really scrounging through, Lasengel's corporate inner workings, but it's just leaving a very bad taste in my mouth, playing FGO, because not only are the rest of the raids in this event going to have that little whisper in the back of your head where you're like, oh, are the retainers actually going to work? Leading into like the 30, 20, 10, 5 minutes before the raids actually drop. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be wondering, and you'll see this in a lot of, say, Discords, as people are counting down, they're going to say, well, let's see if this one actually works this time. Because again, it wasn't like a game bug that happened. It was just they programmed the Ivan raid incorrectly. The kill timer that he had was already programmed way earlier than it should have been, which is super strange. And again, I think it's also super unfortunate for them because we're going to kind of just have that mentality, I think, about a lot of other events as time goes on. Like anytime they're announcing like, oh, we're going to do this thing, and they're like, oh, Remember that one time where the raids didn't actually work correctly? Like, that's just gonna be in everybody's head, and that's just gonna be very unfortunate because I don't think any of the other versions have to deal with this. You know, I can't recall a time that I've been playing JP where stuff just wasn't working, or an event was just actually programmed incorrectly. But it seems to be a thing that we're just kind of dealing with over here on NA. You know, I talked about in the last video how we had, you know, Romulus and we had Summer Kiara who just did not work actually when they were programmed into the game. They just did not function. And now we have this Ivan raid that's not functioning. So as the title of the video is trying to, you know, suggest, where is our compensation and what are we going to get? Again, I don't think we'll hear from them until maybe the day after Christmas, but even then, man, I've been seeing like people in all sorts of discords being like, I want 100 Saint Quartz. I want the Saint Quartz I used on the banner refunded to me, because a huge driving force for the banner, even if you don't want Taigong or Nikki, which is why I think they went pretty tame on them. Like, they're both really strong, Taigong especially, but he's not like this, you know, nuts to butts broken unit. You gotta have him, otherwise your account sucks type good. You know, he's not quite that insane. He's just really, really strong. But they didn't make him like a Melusine, or they didn't make him like a Castoria, a Koyanskaya, this absolute god, because they knew the CEs would sell the banner. Because that 5-star CE, I mean, these raids are the difference between it. Do you have it or you don't have it? Because that's giving you starting gauge at 40%, a big 80% damage buff, and you're getting 30% bond to the entire party. I cannot stress how huge that is, man. Like, that is an insane amount of bond that you're going to be getting, especially when you bring a friend that also has that 60% bond for the entire team. Dude, I am bond farming like an absolute maniac right now. Like, I didn't even really need Dragon Fangs all that badly, but then I was just going Hamtaro on it because I already missed the Ivan one. I didn't want to risk missing out on this one. I have all these teapots, might as well use them to just get a bajillion bond. I even tweeted it out over on the Twitter that, you know, oh, my Oberon is now like Bond 9 or something. You know, I'm just really going at it, getting all this extra Saint Quartz from that in case I maybe want to summon for Koyanskaya. And I understand why people feel like they're kind of gypped, because if you didn't want Taigong or you didn't want Nikki, but you summoned anyway for the CEs, I can absolutely understand why you feel like you just kind of got scammed or you were just kind of like deceived. But I will just say, wait for the next couple of raids. Maybe by the time that Koyanskaya is finished, maybe we will see them roll out some compensation. I would say 30 Saint Quartz is the most you should expect. I do not think we'll get that much though. Like, I would say anywhere in the ballpark of like 10 to 15 Saint Quartz is probably what we're going to be receiving. And then maybe we'll get some apples or something along those lines as well. Maybe. I don't know if there's any gacha laws that maybe would force them to have to reimburse everybody. But technically, I believe those gacha laws apply to false advertising, right? And the banners don't advertise like, oh, use these in the Ivan raid in particular, right? It just says like use them in the raids by themselves. And that might be enough to where it's like, oh, we don't have to refund them because it's technically not false advertising. It's just use them in the raids. The Surtur raid did work, so, you know, shrug, I guess we're advertising correctly. You know, you did use it in the raid. So I don't really think there's any reason that they actually have to, from like a legal standpoint, like give you all your Saint Quartz back. But I think, you know, 30 is the most you could potentially see maybe getting. Maybe they would launch it on Christmas Day as well. That actually might be kind of a nice marketing way of kind of getting around it. It would kind of look good. It's like, oh, we're going to roll out the compensation on Christmas, and it's going to be like 30 Saint Quartz. And, that's going to double, let's say, a Christmas present or something. So we really hand out a lot of Saint Quartz, maybe something along those lines. But I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Again, I'm expecting to maybe hear back from them on the 26th. It's just unfortunate timing that the game had a mishap this big while it's also the holidays, because I feel like there are probably a lot of people that do work at Lasengel that probably would have tried to fix it or something along those lines, or at least tweet out and let us know something, but they're probably on holiday and they just probably can't because the offices are closed. So I don't know. Let me know what you're going to be expecting in the comments down below. And, you know, let me know realistically what you would like to see. None of this like, I want 100 Saint Quartz and I want a free USO. I want 10 USOs. I want all this crazy stuff. Like, no, we're not going to get anything like that. Like, let's be realistic, all right? And I mean, if they don't want to give out any Saint Quartz, I think the easiest thing they could do is, you know, maybe reopen the Ivan raid, give everybody like 10 golden apples and say, you know, have at it, Hoss, you know, go ahead, just farm the raid. We reopened it. I don't know if they can even program that, but then we'll give you some apples. Even if you burned all of yours, you have a chance to go farm the raid. Like, maybe that's what they're gonna do, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. You know, it's been your boy ZTL, staying a little optimistic, hoping that the other raids are not going to be bugged. But man, this, you know, little voice in the back of my head is like, what if they're bugged? What if they don't work? And that's just never a good feeling to have. That's just never a good spot to be in. But I'll catch you guys in the next one, hopefully with a more optimistic video, hopefully with, you know, back to normal content. We don't have to deal with this anymore, and we get the retainer raid and the Colian Sky raid, and they're all fine. But, you know, with all that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace, late, guys.